Recording in progress.
Welcome, everyone. We're glad you're here. Appreciate your attendance, and Dr. Felton, we'll start with you and go around and let y'all introduce yourself in the audience.
Matthew Pelkey, Professor, University of Arkansas, Monticello.
Carl Hansen, Resource Management Service.
Tyler Ochsner, Arkansas Farm Bureau.
Bernard Webu, Urban Forestry. Harold Fisher, Urban Forestry.
Chrissy Kimbrough, Urban Forestry. Aiden Massey, Public Information Officer of Harrison Department.
Justin Smith, Department of Ag Law Enforcement. Billy Black, Chief Law Enforcement, Department of Ag. Corey Seats, General Counsel, Department of Ag. David Blight, Forest Health Specialist.
Kevin Jolly, the Division Forester at Arkansas Forestry Division.
Nikki Davis, District Forester of District 8.
Thank y'all. And Linda, we've got a quorum, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First order of business is minutes from our last meeting on the 26th of January. They were emailed to you in your folder. Can I get a motion for approval? Second. First by Dr. Park, second by Frank. Are there any discussion or corrections to the minutes? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, Mr. Spinks. Moving right along there. You didn't have time to get adjusted down there.
Better sit down.
We had our Ridge Forester, committee meeting just, morning just for this meeting, kind of going through what we did, roll call, minutes approved, we looked at some, applications. One application, the person is wanting to take the exam in May, and, the committee approved him to take it. He met all the requirements, had a complete application. Also had a reciprocity request. The gentleman was a registered forester in California. We reviewed his application, a lot of experience. The board, I'm sure I say it right. The board recommended approving him to be a registered forester pending the registered forester in California. We would need proof, response from California that he's passed the exam and all good on that end. Requesting a motion, and his name is Tim
Moran.
Moran.
Okay, I just want to correct you. You used the word board approved. I think you meant committee approved.
I apologize, yes, committee.
Okay, committee approved. But the recommendation is that we approve him to become a registered forester in the state of Arkansas.
Yes.
Pending.
Pending.
You say pending, what does that mean?
So,
You want us to approve it pending?
Pending confirmation that his exam is legitimate and all of that, because he put it on the application, we just need to check and make sure that it is what he says it is.
We have every reason to believe it will be. Okay, so you're asking us to go ahead and quote officially act on it pending verification. Okay. Will y'all accept that as a motion?
Second.
Second by Steve. Any discussion or question about the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so to approve pending verification. All right.
next we discussed, there was a registered forester exam, February 28th. We had seven passed, and we reviewed their application. They are all students from UAM, I believe, and their application, none of them were complete because they haven't graduated. We don't have an official transcript. Some of them are still missing references, but we made a recommendation that we approve all seven pending a final transcript and favorable, acceptable references.
Reference confirmation.
So I assume what we're doing is we're trying to get quote it approved pending verification, so they don't have to wait 3 more months to get it done. So we're just trying to help expedite it but y'all are responsible for making sure that what you're telling us actually happens.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so how many again? 7, did you say?
7 years.
7, and they're all students at UAM?
Yes, and Dr. Shelby verified that they're.
Is this 7 out of 7, or did anybody not pass this? Or-
No.
Don't ask that question. How's that here, Megan? I asked that question. Here you didn't come into that.
If I might add, so there was one non-UAM student, who didn't pass, missed it by 3 points. They will be retaking the exam. There was a unnamed gentleman here that we may all know of, or may not, who took the exam, had a forestry degree, I think dating back into the 1960s. Didn't come with a calculator, didn't come with any notes, which you could have brought, and still got doggone close to passing. Absolutely amazing performance. That's all I have to add.
Oh, God.
Okay, so we've all got conclusion now. Start over again. Tell us what you want us to approve. Any
Okay.
verification?
We're requesting approval for issuing license for 7 applicants that they pass exam, pending, they have passed exam, pending final transcript and acceptable, favorable job
Reference confirmation.
reference confirmation.
Okay, then I'll put that in the form of a motion. Do anybody have any
Well, we're gonna second it.
second? Okay, any concerns or questions or discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Also, the committee, we discussed, the Arkansas, Association of Southern Boards of Registration for Foresters. And having a meeting coming up, and we're sending 2 representatives, Mr. McAlpine and Dr. Duffy. And, don't know if it's necessary, because we were requesting approval to pay their travel expenses to attend this meeting.
Okay, that this commission's responsibility to approve that, or is that just the board? You want us to support
I think
sending,
that's the thing, yeah, yes, yes.
we would
I'm not
request
sure I have the
that,
final answer for you.
yeah, we would request that the department, reimburse the 2 individuals that's attending the Board of Registered Foresters regional meeting. Will y'all accept that as a form of a motion? So we need a second. Second by Frank. All in favor, please say aye.
Yeah.
Any opposed? Okay,
Next, we discussed we were provided a financial report. And about how do we proceed on that? Is that we had an inquiry?
Yeah. So, we had one question, and Moose is here, but I can pick this up with him afterwards. We had a line that said transfers for claims, and I wasn't sure what that was referring to. It's in your packet, in the financial section, on the, say at the top, Arkansas Department of Agriculture Board of Registration for Foresters cash funds.
what's the question?
The question was, at the bottom, there's a question about the $1,041 is allocated to transfer for claims, and I'm not sure what the item was. And then there was another question. So, when I first got here, I discussed with Ms. Starr, who was in that position. Apparently, the funding for that position, some percent, and again, probably a conversation I need to have with Anusa at some point. Some percent of that position is, really supposed to be funded out of these funds, and it hasn't been taken out up to date. So, those are 2 items that I was asked to inquire about, and then I believe the motion would be, that these are approved pending, my investigation.
Put a lot of confidence in y'all.
What's a pending?
Don't abuse it. Just on that, don't abuse it. So you're wanting us to approve the transfer of these funds pending you and Anusa meeting and verification, et cetera?
Well, there's no transfer, it's just
hold the whole financial.
So we have $124,000 right now. We're in good shape. It's fine. It's just
$124,000 for
cash balance in the treasury parties.
what you gotta do.
Yes, sir. Members, so usually the transfer, that was listed on financial report is the transfer, is the registration portion, let's say, office supplies, just the admin portion that goes into insurance service. It's just a transfer. A little bit over 1,000 from the, third operating fund into the shared service, pool, where we used to pay, office supply. Got you. Fire department. That's what that transfer is.
I didn't want to put you on the spot. That's all.
Good answer.
So is there any action needed?
Just,
I make a motion to approve financial statement as presented.
For the registered forester?
Registered forester.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Just as information for the commissioners, with the regional meeting we discussed at Mr. Belkey and Dr. Belkey and Mr. McAlpine attending, that meeting will actually be held in Arkansas next year, so the committee will be looking at planning and something that's coming up.
good. We're at in Arkansas, do we know yet?
That was being discussed.
our next meeting, we're gonna get into. One of the things we wanted, and I don't introduce her, is Candace is here today, our new, Red Park licensing coordinator, so we want to have her in that discussion, because she'll be involved.
Okay. Anything else?
Got anything else, Kyle?
I think that's it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Cunningham, you got some introductions.
Yes, I do. So, just want to do this real quickly. It's my pleasure. First, we have Ms. Nikki Davis is here today. Nikki is our new, district forester for District 8 in Northeast Arkansas and North Arkansas. And, she wants to be known as the district forester, but we all are aware she's the first female district forester in Arkansas's history. And so, we'll hear a little bit more about that in a little bit, but just want to congratulate you. And I know you have all the commissioner support, moving forward.
Thank you.
Congratulations. We also have, David Blythe, who is our new, forest health specialist. He'll be working under Chandler Barton. And he'll have statewide responsibilities. He's helping us with, insect trapping, here recently and our pine decline event in Southeast Arkansas. And he was a county forester with us, and he's now moving into a forest health capacity statewide. So I think Chandler will mention him.
Congratulations.
And then we have Bernard Wegbu. Did I say your last name right?
Iwabu.
Thank you, sorry. And Bernard is our new tree equity grants coordinator. Did I say that correct? Correct. With Urban Forestry, and he'll be working with communities across Arkansas, working with the grants that we receive to make sure they're receiving the funds that are allocated to them. And really glad to have him.
And managed correctly. Not only allocated to them, but managed correctly.
And
We have some experience with not doing that well here.
And I think I'll go ahead and introduce Candace as well. She's standing up. Did you pronounce your last name? Snabelin. I knew I was gonna kill it if I said it. So Candace is our new, registered forester pending coordinator or licensing coordinator. And, she'll be starting Monday, and she's graciously, agreed to appear this morning just to kind of see how things roll here. So Candace, welcome, and we're looking forward to working with you. So
Thank you.
that's all I have for,
Good. Welcome. Glad you're here. Forward to getting to know you better and learn more about you. All right, we're ready to move on?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Jolly.
Morning, and I'd like to start out with Malcolm Nursery and the the 2024 crop has been completed. We sold about a little bit over 7 million seedlings. And, you know, you do. Oh, you have somebody advance this slide.
Clicker should be up there.
Oh, that would be me.
My fault, I gotta click back on the slide. All right, try now. Okay, it is working with the delay, so.
Okay, let's stop pressing the button.
Don't press the other button.
Right. Yourself? That's all. Okay.
Oh, I'm pressing the wrong.
I'm gonna try this a different way, my mistake.
There's,
We,
is that Chandler or is that y'all?
Okay, let me back up, now you try.
am I controlling it? There we go. All right, there we go. A little over 7 million, and, if you put that in dollars, it's a little, it computes to be roughly $1.7 million for the sales. So to give you a reference, in 2023, we sold about 5.3 million seedlings. And, you know, the record is 9 million, so we're in between there somewhere. So we had a pretty good year this year on the seedling sales. The 2025 crop is on schedule, and it'll be 100% planted by May, and we're expecting, we planted 10 million seeds, and so we're expecting a good crop this year because we've experienced a very high germination rate on our seedlings. A lot of them are coming up. So yesterday we submitted a grant proposal. It was to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. It was for $326,000. And the purpose of that grant was to restore 30.5 acres in the northeast corner of Bockham. And we're planning to restore that into production. And so we're hoping that when we get that grant and restore it into production, that we'll be able to produce about 3 million more hardwood seedlings a year.
When should you hear, if you got the grant or not?
I think it'll be the late part of May is when they're customers. It's gonna be pretty quick. And first, I want to give the Nature Conservancy a shout out, because they're helped us a lot on the proposal, and they're gonna have a part in the matching part of that grant.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna ask you, is it a 1-to-1 match or what? I know some folks only get with.
Well, it's designed to be a 1.1-to-1 match, but they gave us a waiver. We were about $60,000 a difference, and they said that was fine.
Okay, close enough.
Close enough. So, and we're funding our part with labor and.
In kind.
Right, yeah, and then, of course, the Nature Conservancy is buying irrigation pipe.
Mhm.
Part of the project. Good. So in these pictures, you see a hydroponic demonstration, and it's set up in the Bockham Packing Building. And this is being done in cooperation with a private individual and the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. The goal of this demonstration is to show that tree seedlings can be grown to production planting size and determine the survival rate after the planting. We're not sure if they're gonna survive after being in water for a long time. The ceilings are grown in the cups on the vertical columns, and you can see that they're grown with artificial light. So moving to Forest Legacy, during the third quarter, the Forestry Division purchased 4 tracts at the Hot Springs State Forest, and the tracts totaled 43.61 acres. The total acres for the Hot Springs Forest are now at 3,272 acres. And Kyle signed a purchase agreement for the SDC3 tract, and that one's shown in red. We hope to close on that tract at the end of June. And the Forestry Division is in the process of purchasing a 1.54 acre tract. And it has an existing metal shop on it, and that's in Baxter County. And the purpose of that tract is to serve as a new work center for Baxter County. The area that we're in right now, our lease comes up in November, and so we got to move out, got to find another place, and we had a ANCRC grant to purchase that with, and so that's where we plan to purchase a tract for a new work center.
Is that building gonna serve as the work center, or are we gonna have to build a new one once we buy it?
Good question. I'll let that, we're gonna buy.
Real important question, right, so we know.
So the metal building is a shop building, and then we're planning on purchasing a mobile home for an office. So you'll have 2 buildings there.
And we're having to vacate where we're at now because they're terminating the lease, or we want to terminate the lease?
Well, the owner wants us to terminate the lease. She's trying to sell the property, and so she doesn't.
I'll just say, we've been really having a hard time finding a new home up there, and I appreciate,
But this has been going on for over a year and a half. We've been trying to find a good spot, and we finally landed on one. That concludes.
Oh, wait, I got 2 more questions.
Okay.
I don't want to slow us down.
All right.
Of the seedlings that we sold this year, do you have a breakdown of the different species? And if you don't have it handy, if you could just get us what it's, of the.
Behind tab 3, and I've got a question with the number of seedlings.
I'm not through with my question. Okay, so we got the varieties that were sold this year.
Yes.
Okay, do we have the varieties that you planted? You said you planted. Okay, all right, good. Okay, John?
My question is, how can we sell more trees than we actually lifted?
I was wondering if somebody would ask that.
We ran into them before.
So part of it is due to a person misrepresenting the numbers. They intentionally.
Who no longer works for us.
Yeah,
So
they
they
no
throw
longer
that out.
And so we didn't have any way to recreate it, so we got it close.
They did it on purpose. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Still confused, what happened?
So,
The numbers were wrong, or
Yeah,
they were
I'll just-
manipulated, or what?
manipulated. Yeah, we had an individual, for whatever reason, decided to, miscount or,
Had the number
had the numbers.
to make it look better?
No.
Well, it made it look worse.
Yeah, I mean, what's the,
Who was he trying to make look bad?
I don't know. He doesn't work here anymore.
I understand that, but I still don't know what happened. It doesn't matter whether he works here or not.
Right.
I mean, why would you do that?
I never got that answer.
Anybody know?
Here, let me clarify something. That we didn't short anyone seedlings. We got seedlings, they passed through us, and we got everybody seedlings they ordered. So nobody was shortfall.
Yeah, we sold more. I mean, they got more than they ordered.
And
We
some
sold
of it,
more than we planted, but do we sell any 2-year-olds after, I mean?
Occasionally, we'll have 2 of seedlings. I don't know if we do for time, it's mainly for household. 2 is 2 years in the nursery.
Do you have a place that you do y'all transplant them there, just leave them in?
Just leave them, they'll just hold those beds. So if you transplant them, then it'd be like a 1-1, 1 year in the nursery, 1 year in the house.
It shows some 2-year, second page here.
We sold all of them.
Thanks. Any more questions for Jim?
Yeah, I just wanted to add too, that, some of the times we've got a cooperative agreement with the other nurseries, that are close to us. And so if we come up short, well, then we get some seedlings from them and vice versa. So that makes the count.
And we provided, Oklahoma 800,000 seedlings last year, so, there is a lot of cooperation amongst.
When you say provided, does that mean sold? Okay. Thanks.
The state nurseries that remain, we work together pretty closely with.
Any questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim. Chandler? Turn the flicker off, so you.
Get me back.
Yeah.
All right, thank you all for having me. So first, I want to start off by directing you to a report that was published on March 27th. A copy of this report, that's what the first page looks like, is on the inside cover of your binder. And so this expresses all the details, everything we've done, observed since late 2022 with regard to the pine health issue in southeastern Arkansas. Some of the key facts here is how much of the property we mapped and reported discoloration versus mortality. And also detailed information of the sampling survey that was conducted last year. So 41 samples were collected across the southeast in the affected area. All of these samples were sent to 2 different labs. One being the Mississippi State University Chemical Laboratory for confirmation or diagnosis of the presence of dicamba paraquat. And then other samples from the same trees were also sent to a pathology lab in Pineville, Louisiana for confirmation of brown spot beetle blight. So the results of that were that 2 samples of the 41 collected were positive for paraquat. 0 samples tested positive for dicamba. Approximately 2/3 of the samples that were collected and looked at by the pathology lab were positive for brown spot beetle blight. Morphologically, the observation of brown spot beetle blight, it's ever present in the area. So I would say 2/3 doesn't mean only 2/3 of the area is actually had it. I really do feel that a lot of this area is impacted by brown spot beetle blight. So the conclusions here is that the contributing factors to the discoloration and subsequent mortality or the disease, there is evidence of some off-target herbicide effects, and insects also play a role, albeit not as badly for us. We were quite lucky with bark beetles, as some other states have been impacted recently. You may have heard what's going on in Mississippi. It should be said that all of this is incited by abiotic conditions, so erratic weather patterns, it's unusually warm time frame temperatures, and drought.
Question, can I ask a question now?
Yes, sir.
Do we have evidence that it will spread, or how does it move forward?
Okay.
Do we have things to worry about in central Arkansas because of brown?
The brown spot needle blight, which is suspected to play the largest role in injuring trees,
How does
it
it,
should be found throughout most of Arkansas.
so does it travel airborne, or is it, can it just happen? I don't understand.
Right. It's present. It's a native pathogen.
there.
So what changes to see the issue with the disease is the host, the number of other factors working against that host. So it's my opinion that southeastern Arkansas has several factors that cause the disease to be worse. Even though the disease might be present in counties closer to Oklahoma, they don't have those other factors that make it so damaging yet.
So it's a symptom of other environmental factors that are occurring.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
So stress has a lot to do with it. Would it affect somebody's, thinning practices at all, you think?
There's a lot more questions than answers with brown spot needle blight, and management is one of those questions. So you can find it on thinned stands, you can find it on overstock stands, old and young. There's really not anything that we've seen that says any lob volley is resistant. So there are labs working on that. There's a lot of research projects happening right now about what sort of management strategies can we come up with to combat this.
Yep. Does UAM have, are they setting up some research?
So give me
Sure, yeah.
So, we're part of a group doing the sampling work, and UAM's part of that group. Looking at, so what we're working on is more of the macro level, looking at hundreds of thousands of acres through that southeast area. And then what UAM, Dr. Krishan, remote sensing professor down there is working on, he's started doing some drone work on smaller areas. And they are looking at it at a micro type scale. So I think that's the next stage as we move through this is looking at this and as individual stands and that type of thing, and that will require research. And so, yeah, UAM is working with us on that. I want to note, Chandler's done a great job. One of the things he does each year, and he went this week and did a flight. And so he has a flight line that he does over about 7,000 acres that are indicated here, that we identify as areas we want to keep an eye on. One of the things he noted this week is that the area impacted appears to be a little larger this year than it was last. So it's getting up into Lincoln and maybe southern Jefferson County at a higher, but it was there last year, but it wasn't that significant. This year, that's a little bit higher. And so, we're going to continue to do the aerial sampling. One of the things I talked with Monticello about was doing, so we have what we call sentinel, aerial or satellite imagery. And we can, that's updated every 30 days. One of the things I want to do is take a snapshot of each April for the last 3 years and try to calculate a total area impacted in southeast Arkansas, regardless of what the cause was, what was impacted by acreage. And then that will give us an idea of this expansion that you're talking about for this epidemic type scenario. We're also going to continue to sample in those areas that we're seeing new ground levels. We have 20 samples collected so far that are sent over in 6 states. I think Chandler talked about that.
Yeah.
And then this is another state also.
The brown spot needle blight is all across the south.
All across South.
Some of the more impacted states are Alabama, Mississippi, and that includes us, Louisiana. But outside of that, they seldom see it, so not quite as widespread impact as we've seen. But it's there.
Do you think, as a part of this study, are we going to try to assign some, I'll call it percentage of cause to climate conditions, herbicide conditions? Are we gonna try to get to, I know there's many factors, but are we gonna try to identify acreages and get to what might most likely caused it? Or are we just gonna write a paper about it?
That's an excellent question. So
Well, if
I've debated in my head quite a bit.
I know you can't say definitively, but candidly, for it to be of any value, you've got to at least tell us what you think.
Yeah.
And you can qualify that any way you want to. But you're the smartest person we got working on it, and people here are looking for information.
Right. I think you can infer some, weighted cause
Yeah.
on per site basis. for the whole expanse of the affected area, I'm very much inclined to say that brown spot is the main issue here. But we are continuing to sample for the same things that I've just reported to you this year.
We know the brown spot is the issue, but the question is what's creating
the
the
ground?
exacerbated presence
Is
of.
it climate, is it herbicide, or a combination of all?
So, let me ask you. So I think that's where UAM comes into play to help. Because one of the things that when I took this job over, I inherited this. I was part of it before this, but I also inherited it more of a lead role. First mission we have is to, because there was a lot of speculation flying around, it was to identify concretely causative factors. And we've done that, and we've improved. The other side of this is we have improved our sampling it's been an evolution of sampling method over the previous 18 months or so. And I'm very happy with where we are right now with our sampling. One of the things we've done this year is we're sampling much earlier. And so we actually started sampling in February this year, end of February and March this year. Last year, we didn't sample until May. And I think we missed some things last year potentially that we're gonna pick up this year. And that's really getting more on the herbicide side of things. I think you may see more of an herbicide presence in our sample this year. It's not concrete yet. So, but our goal is to identify for this region, because we're looking at it up here, what is causing this? And then those questions you're talking about, that's a question for our researchers at Monticello to look at it at a stand level basis. And get into, okay, this stand got hit by drift, and then brown spot was able to do its thing with a little bit of climate. That's still, for us, if we receive make statements on that, that's speculative. And we can do that to some extent, but we do need that research component in there.
Would drought conditions create an outbreak of this needle blight?
And I'll let Chandler answer that.
Yeah, the reduction in vigor is what we're honing in on there. That's what drought does to trees. It allows secondary
Right.
issues to occur. And that's one really easy example to look at is what's happening in Mississippi. They had a very bad drought late last year. And now bark beetles are the issue. And bark beetles wouldn't have been the issue without the drought. If you have a mild drought case scenario, then you're allowing something like a disease to progressively get worse.
I think the wet springs have also played a role. So you've had an increase in inoculant, and then you turn that around with a drought period that stresses the trees. And again, that's just my opinion. But you have two things working
It
against.
seems like it would be strange to just be a little strip that runs almost in a straight line. Well, I would think
that's
that
where-
whole area
right.
would be equally impacted by a drought or a wet spring.
One of the themes across, this area and into Louisiana is that they're lower elevations also. So once you get into the hill country,
Got it.
we're not seeing, that's across the region. That's not just here. Now I will say there is another correlation. Most of the time, low areas are correlated with ag. So
Mhm.
we can't say that that's not part of the equation.
So these run just right along the edge of the
There's two
delta
things
areas.
here that I want to mention. In Chico County, you have to look, you start looking at this from a large scale, you really have to put things into perspective or you can get off on chasing, the wrong trail. In Chico County, we have forest lands that are basically islands in the middle of agriculture. So if you look at land use land classification, you have forest stands that are islands out there. And this whole area, you're talking about in the linear area there, that's the reason we're sampling there. That's kind of the interface between woodlands and agriculture. And so in a lot of those areas, we have woods that have fragmented ag lands within. And so you can see, well, that's just samples, but if that's where the mortality map, are you gonna show that?
No, I'm not, but there is a mortality map in your report.
Yeah, so the mortality map shows 100% of the stands that we've flown over in Chico County have some level of mortality. Maybe not the whole thing, but in those areas in the interface, there's a mix. It's about 40-50% that show us a level of mortality. And so that's, I know I'll probably get too far into the weeds on this, but those are the type of things we really have to put in perspective. Another thing, we're not sampling, we may have taken some, we're not sampling on the edge of ag fields, because those will all come back hot. Maybe not all, but a lot. we're moving into the stand and seeing that this herbicide, you know, looking at it from a chemical standpoint, is moving into the forest. And we have seen that in some of our samples that have come back positive. So that to me is a significant concern, is that we're some distance from an ag field with a positive from me for the herbicide.
We tested for dicamba and paraquat. Are those the two primary herbicides in use in that area? Or are there others?
Oh, I better answer. Yes, we used to have, with regard to herbicides, we used to see a lot more glyphosate used. And, you know, lack of production, some of the legal stuff and some of the costs associated. We have seen shifts to paraquat in particular. There's a much higher level of paraquat use today than it was 10 years ago. We're doing about 3 or 4 pounds to the acre on ag field average annually. And that was about half that number about 10 years ago. And so there is a higher level of herbicide being sprayed. So, you know, it's foolish not to say that's not some level of playing a role in this.
Is this consistent with other states' experiences?
Most of the other states are looking at the disease. We are, to my knowledge, Chairman may correct me, I don't know if anybody else is doing what we're doing. With the same thing we're doing.
But they have the same level of problem that we have.
Those chemicals.
Well, I was just saying the interface that you're talking about, is it consistent with what you're seeing here in other states? Or?
I don't know. I would assume it would be, but I haven't looked at that.
The other thing I want to ask, you said loblolly, is this affecting shortleaf?
It is not, it can infect shortly, but it does not cause the same symptomology and doesn't seem to, decline.
So morbidity is not good.
Yeah. Trees die from shortly.
Okay.
The last thing I need to throw out, and John has a question, you brought up a good point, because, I met with Fred Raley, who's a geneticist at Texas A&M. One of the studies, one of the things that we want to look at, and Texas A&M already has a grant to begin this process, is looking to see if there's a genetic component to this. Did we go out 15 years ago and put some trees out there that are more susceptible to brown spot needle blight and other varieties would be? So that's some of the other research that needs to be conducted on that as well.
The question I've got is on the samples you collected last year, are we gonna resample any of those areas again this year? Or are we gonna go back and even look at those sites to see? Because I'm thinking there may be a difference between mortality and symptoms of foliage damage. That, I mean, certain things that regrow needles, other ones, the trees die or continue in a decline. And are we gonna look at any of these sites, maybe the ones that did test positive, maybe some that didn't test positive on those
We're
sites?
definitely flying them again. He already did that.
Not all the resampling so far this year is matched up with the same locations as last year. Some of them have, we've expanded it.
And I'd say maybe just a subset of these,
Yeah,
to look and see, are we seeing?
And that's where I was headed, is we're flying everything. But as far as the samples go, we are gonna hit some, but we wanna hit some new areas. Well, one of the reasons is last year we didn't have very many samples in Chico County. We wanna increase those numbers. We also have to be strategic, because it's like $300 per sample to get it run. So you're talking about thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars.
So I'm just thinking of looking at, because foliage damage is one thing, mortality is another. Now, I know Ray's looking at his watch to move on.
Yeah, no. We do need to move on. But no,
Big
good
topic.
discussion. Yeah, yeah.
I am gonna be, I will be presenting more information at the Ferndale Registry Forest workshop. I'm gonna hone in on this in more detail, what I know from research labs across the southeast. And I hope to be a liaison as new information comes. There's a lot of that. With apologies, something went wrong when I copied this. This is not the image I intended to show there. It was another stand that we showed aerially, but it copied this one there. It's the point I wanted to make with these aerial images is it's difficult to photograph from the air. I mean, you just see a dull green. From eyesight and from the plane, it's clear that this is a very unhealthy, perhaps dying stand.
One last question. From what you know about this and the trends that you've seen, in 5 years, where do you think this is going, or 10 years, where do you think this is going?
Me answer.
I can imagine. It's a big question.
let me put my perspective and then he can correct me if I'm wrong. Like going into this year, one of the thoughts we had was, well, we had a bad year last year, we might see a reduction this year. And he flew this week and we actually think there could be an expansion this year. And so, you know, one of the things I want to make sure we're doing is not speculating. There is a potential for it to continue to expand, obviously, because it's doing it. The rate at which it expands, does it move into the uplands is another question, because it's primarily hitting on bottomland areas right now, or lower areas. I want to say that hopefully this is it, but I can't make that statement concretely until we really.
Of course,
see what
but
happens.
to the best of your knowledge,
Right.
this is.
It hasn't shown, that's also one of the things we want to work with UAM on, is to do a broader scale satellite imagery analysis to see if it is moving westward into those upland areas, because Chandler's limited, you're in a plane, you're having to fly specific tracks and those type things. We need to incorporate the satellite imagery to answer some of those questions. Is it moving into areas we didn't expect it?
Okay. Yeah, I think there are gonna be some sites where decisions need to be made on cutting early, to reduce losses, and then reforestation.
That's the point I was getting to. There are a lot of people like me, they're, making plans to reforest areas, and it might affect how we plant. So, I mean, the spacing. and things
Well,
like
so I think we don't need to leave here thinking that brown spot needle blight is the only contributing factor. That would be, the mindset behind that it's gonna be what role is herbicide playing? What role is stress playing? And stress could assist moving westward. It could assist maybe more with ills than with brown spot. So we also have to remember there's insects out there. In certain areas, ills have been a major player in some of these areas. And so we just have to be careful saying, okay, is this one thing and it's gonna move into everything. It's all of this stuff working together. And so that's why it's very difficult to say how this is going to progress westward. I don't know if that answers.
From an old man's perspective, we planted a lot of pine trees and built farmland. Mainly because we didn't have a season, hardwood season to plant there. Just years ago, we had took some of that ground out of production, and they had pine, they passed plain pine, thinking it was there, and some of these are some of the areas that are getting brown spot. So I think moving some of the into some site differences has something to do with, but we all speculate now, right? But not too.
No, I have the same thought. I just haven't gone through.
Also having a big monoculture, all the trees the same age, same,
The genetic side of it is scary. Yeah. And we have research planned to learn.
Forestry started warning us about that in 1962.
Any further questions for Chandler, so we can move on? Thank you, Chandler.
Thank you.
You're not gonna get out of the spotlight. So,
This isn't going away.
And the elephant in the room, y'all haven't seen it, is how much effect is herbicide having on these areas that's adjacent to ag land? That's the elephant in the room here. Okay.
So with apologies, again, something went wrong with the pictures here. These aren't the pictures that are responsible for.
Jim did it.
It's close, you can.
That is weird. I saw this presentation yesterday and those pictures weren't right.
I was gonna let Jim get that clear.
That's what passes for urban in Arkansas. That's Arkansas urban.
The next few slides are urban forestry, so I'm gonna introduce our coordinator. Her name is Chrissy Kimbrough. She's been with us in this role for nearly 5 years, with us as a forester for longer than that, and I greatly appreciate her efforts and dedication to urban forestry. She works extremely hard in that our urban forestry program is visible to the public and is a huge success. And the Free Tree Friday events is a kudos to her work. So these pictures should have been her team, but they are in the room, so I'll let her introduce them. Kyle and Ray she's gonna introduce them, but I'd ask that they can be excused to go help with the Free Tree Fridays after introduction.
Whatever y'all need to do.
So here's what the picture is supposed to look like. I'm curious when I saw that, because when I sent this to Chandler, he said that actually looks like a rock album cover. That was at the Wind Relief in one of our Free Tree Friday events there, and we just got the idea to stage our cars, and Bernard and Harold stood there. So that was a great picture of them. But you have to zoom in really close to see that. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce our team. Harold Fisher is our partnership coordinator. He works out of the Greenbrier office, and he's been with us for 10 years now. And Bernard Wigmo, and he is working out of the Jefferson County office, and this 2 months, just about now. So he comes to us from UAPB, and we're quite glad to have him. And as Kyle introduced, he's our tree equity grants coordinator. And so he'll be working specifically with the Inflation Reduction Act grant funding and justice equity with all of our grants to the Community and Forestry Civil Work Program. So thank you, guys. And if y'all want to go on and head out to Free Tree Friday, I will join you shortly. David and I both will. Thank y'all for having me today, and I appreciate that great introduction from Chandler. And I will attempt to use the clicker now, and I use 1,000 words. A picture is worth 1,000 words. I'll give you both, 1,000 pictures and 1,000 words if you let me. But it went one slide too far. Chandler, the one for relief. Okay, here we go. So the relief events are a partnership with the Arkansas Urban Forestry Council, and we fund them through a sub-award annually. And one of the components of their grant requirements is that they hold a relief event every year. And that is meant to reforest the urban and community forestry canopy in an area that has been hit by tornado or some other natural disaster. And as you know, Little Rock and Wind areas were our two main priorities for this year. So the first event we had on a very rainy day was at Burns Park. And so you would look at these numbers and think, wow, North Little Rock didn't have near the participation that Wind did, but it was pouring down rain that day. So it was impressive that we still had that many people come out. And we took both bare root seedlings and potted trees. Usually for relief, we give away just the potted trees, but this year Arkansas Urban Forestry Council purchased the seedlings. So they ordered from Balkum, just like a landowner would, 20,000 seedlings to be used for relief for the Free Tree Friday events, and then for any other seedling giveaways, as well as for us to pot up for trees of this size next year for our Arkansas community trees. This dog did pick a cherry bark oak, in case you're wondering. And the top two and the one on the right were at Wind, and you can see the people lined up at Wind. And we borrowed Balkum's trailer, and when we let the back down, people were already starting to gather. And keeping with the rock concert theme, I felt like a rock star. I dropped that down, and they're saying, cherry bark, I need pin oak. Where do you have red mulberry? And so they were very, very grateful to see us there when we came out. And we had met the community of Wind before, because last year we went and did an urban forest strike team assessment for them. So we knew that they were desperately in need. Today at the Free Tree Friday down in the parking lot, we also have potted trees. We did not at any other Free Tree Friday event, but we're still trying to get more of those to the Little Rock area. So we didn't publicize that as much, other than at the Burns Park relief. We told people, if you know someone else that couldn't get out today because of the weather and wants to come, we'll have some at our Little Rock location. So the Free Tree Fridays, this is the 4th year of it, and we have 27 locations this year, and 6 of those are being held starting in about 10 minutes across the state today. The seedlings were donated by Arkansas Urban Forestry Council. We had 6 species this year, and each year we make a little handout that has information on the species, and we have these available for people that are picking up seedlings, give them kind of a visual, thanks to Texas A&M Forest Service and the artists down there for most of these. But this year we have bald cypress, cherry bark, and shoe-marred oak, red mulberry, which has been extremely popular, river birch, and sycamore. And we've given out 10,500 so far. Of course, that's not counting what we'll hand out today. And in the whole 2023 campaign, we gave out 10,000. So we upped our limit this year to 5 per person. We want to keep it below the threshold of what they can order the smaller bundles from Baucom, because we don't want anybody getting for free what they could purchase from the nursery. But again, with the storms that hit last year, we wanted to do that, and Arkansas Urban Forestry Council helped with purchasing more for us. And we've had 2,400 people attend, so if we get 700 people across the state today, we'll meet or exceed last year's numbers for that. And so these are just some pictures from various giveaways that we've had. And on the species for this year, we do have all of those downstairs, and then we also have a few additional species that are potted. So if you would like to come and join us after lunch, we'd love to have you come down there. We're in the parking lot out front, just to the right as soon as you come down. And again, thanks for having us. Do y'all have any questions or
Question?
hopefully not as many as either at camera?
They start dying, we'll want to know what.
We will get on it.
I just want to say Chrissy's doing a great job with this. You know, when you go to these, you see the reactions of people, and they just really appreciate, even though it's a tree seedling, it means, you know, communities have been impacted, it means a whole lot to have somebody think of it. Just appreciate it.
Thank you.
Your energy is obvious.
Thank you.
No, that's sincere.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Robert.
Robert, before you start, I'm gonna switch this to live.
Okay.
Are you just gonna walk down?
Apparently when that PowerPoint downloads, it makes some edits for us.
So that artificial intelligence.
Technology's great till it doesn't work right.
Yeah, tacos for life, bring your lunch. Jim, I gotta hand it to you, but you messed it up. Good job. You read the whole thing, didn't you? You got it back. You wanna tell us what you did? So we can- Nope.
I'm almost there.
No pressure, Chairman, no pressure.
While he's working on that, y'all mind if I go a little out of sequence so we can go ahead and get some business tended to? Miles is not here today. We were gonna cover this under new business, but Miles sent an email to Kyle this morning, and he requests that the commission consider making either a statement or resolution honoring the life of David Pryor, expressing our gratitude, long public service, and our condolences to his family. Miles worked with David on the 1990 Farm Bill, and there were a lot of forestry components in that Farm Bill, and Senator Pryor was very involved in those. So Miles respectfully requests that we consider a resolution recognizing his contribution and his public service and his impact on forestry in the state of Arkansas. So
I know Miles is not here, but while we make that a motion, Miles, are you on the
No, he's
call?
saying.
Okay, yeah, well, I didn't know if he was on the call. Well, I'll make it form a motion.
for a motion, and would it be appropriate as a statement or resolution?
Say a resolution.
Resolution, okay. Got a motion, can I get a second? Second by Dr. Clark.
He was just saying, to his family, so I guess we.
I included that. You listen, I included that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so Kyle, if y'all would have the legal group draft a resolution consistent with the request and the motion. And that will be from the Forestry Committee.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great idea.
yeah,
That's great, man.
there's so much dancing I can do. You ready to go, Chandler?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So I'm Robert Murphy, Emergency Services Director. All right, so just put this slide up here to remind everybody where we were when we met last in January. We had quite a lot of drought in the state. It doesn't, that was a distant memory in the recent weeks that we've had all the rain. But we were fairly dry going into the quarter, and that was reflected with the fire numbers that we saw over the quarter. If we look, we had 1 month in February that was actually quite a bit above even our historical averages. And I don't know when the last time I could say we were above historical averages was. We've been above the 10-year averages quite a lot, but to be as much as we were above the historical averages in February, was a little surprising. And actually about 2/3 of those acres in February happened in 1 week. We had 1 week where we burned 4,000 acres across the state. So we had a pretty busy week that week. Those are, when you get back to the end of the quarter, you can see we had 333 fires for 9,965 acres during the first quarter or the third quarter of the year, the first quarter of the calendar year. And I put up there for reference the fire total from last year. So that was all of the 2023 calendar year total. We had 10,901 acres. We did surpass that number. I tried to say May, but I knew that wasn't right yet. So we had in the first week of April, we had about, we got to just over 11,000 acres, and we did that with almost half as many fires as we had all of the 23 calendar year. So we had a very busy spring, not as much in fire numbers, so to speak, but really in the amount of acres that we burned. Our average acreage was, our fire size for the spring was like 30 acres. Typical average for fire size is around 10 acres. So we had a lot of fairly large fires over the spring this year. So we spent a lot of time fighting fire. And the guys, the field staff did a really good job. A lot of short staffing across the state. As everybody knows, we've got a lot of vacant positions, a lot of positions that are hard to fill. But what staff we had did a really good job. So I want to give them kudos for everything they did this spring in fighting fire and keeping it as manageable as they did. Is it changing down there, Darren? May have a delay. Well, while he's working, here we go, training update. So as y'all know, training is one of the biggest things that we do when we're not fighting fire. It's extremely important to what we do is to maintain our staffing, training levels, and make sure everybody's trained and prepared to take care of the fires that we have. We kind of changed a few things up this year. We went from typically in the past, we would have one basic fire class in the springtime, and put that on at Camp Robinson, bring everybody in and have them all do a class. We would probably have 20 to 25 people in one class. What we've done now, to try to save a little bit of money and try to get people through the basic fire class in a more timely manner is we've transitioned to where we're doing these classes in the districts. So we just finished 2 this week, actually, and have done another one this spring. We put on 3, this spring where we went into districts and the class size is 4 or 5, maybe 6 people instead of 20 or 25, but, we're having the classes more often. It's getting people trained more quickly. And it's reducing the amount of funds that are going towards meals and lodging. So typically, we would have had everybody come in to Camp Robinson. We'd have had 20 or 25 in the class. We'd have had 4 or 5 cadre there. And we'd have paid for all those meals and lodging for about a week. And doing it in this way, I think we've only had 3 people that we've had to pay lodging to get them in a class that was remotely close to where they were. So, it drastically reduced the amount of money that we've spent, this year in the lodging and the meals that we would have spent getting these people trained. We've also been doing refreshers, this quarter over most of the state. I think we're about done with those now. We may have just a little bit left of one to do up in Nikki's district, up in District 8. But those are just, we go in, we talk to the guys about lots of different things, just trying to keep complacency from setting in, try to remind everybody how important and how dangerous our job is. Just, you know, refreshing on different things that we tend to lose sight of from time to time in your packet. And marketing is going to talk about it a little bit. We developed, well, we didn't develop, we kind of stole an infographic from our seed contractor that we gave out to the folks that just kind of talks about fire anatomy and the terms we use when we're talking to aircraft and each other about fire. When you get out there, and especially the guys that are in the plane doing circles over the fires, after they make about 3 circles, they don't know which way is north, south, east, west, up or down. So we try to get away from using cardinal directions when we're talking on fire scenes. And when you get on a dozer after you've made 3 or 4 turns, especially at night, you can't tell which way is north or south. So we talk about east flank or the right flank and the left flank, and we try to use those terms. And usually if the fire's on your left side, you know you're on the right flank pretty much. So it's a little more common language. It's not quite as hard to keep track of where you're at. So we did that. That was one of the things that we talked about in the fire refresher. Those are the type of things that we try to get out to them and try to talk to them when we go into the districts there.
Who are your students?
So for the refresher, everyone that has fire line duty. So anybody that has fire line duty is required. Yes,
Okay.
everyone that has fire line duty is required to go to these refresher trainings. The basic fire, those are new hires. Those are.
Okay, so these are all internal.
These are all internal people. These are all internal trainings. So rangers are required for basic fire. We also require our dispatchers and our aviation pilots to go through basic fire just so they understand terminology that they hear on the radio and they can talk to the rangers and speak the same language. So that's who we're targeting.
Required attendance?
That is required attendance, yes.
Okay, and if they miss it, then they gotta make it up somehow?
They have to make it up, yes, yeah. And it's required for job retention. So if they keep coming up with excuses over the years about, and we've had that happen a few times, you know, that, well, I can't go to this training because, well, you eventually gotta go or you're gonna go somewhere else and find a different job. So.
That happens in every case.
Yes.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
asking these questions.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm just saying, y'all are disciplined to where they get to training or they're not on the front lines.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So just a brief rules update. We've got, of course, 2 rules that we've been talking about in recent past. The purple paint rule, that has went through public comment and that rule is supposed to be on ALC's next agenda. So the next time the legislative council meets, we're supposed to be on their agenda. We're not sure right now if that's gonna be May or June. I guess a lot of it's gonna depend on how long the fiscal session goes and when they adjourn and whether or not they'll wanna have an ALC immediately following the fiscal session or wait till June before they reconvene the ALC.
The word is fiscal session ends next week.
we'll see if they have one. If they have an ALC in May, we're supposed to be on that issue. And once it goes through ALC, then it'll be good to go and ready to go to the Secretary of State's office.
Probably, you don't anticipate any issues.
I really don't, no. We had 0 public comments.
That's good.
So, nobody commented on the rules, so I really don't foresee there being an issue. The qualified prescribed burner rule that we've been talking about now for, almost a year now. It did go into effect in March. The review committee, they're the committee members, Wesley McKinney, who is the fire management officer for Forestry, Randy Brent, who's now, in the, I think he's assistant director over the private lands division for game and fish. And Noah White, who is, one of the regional, private lands biologists up in the north central part of the state, for game and fish. Wade Hargrave, who is the consultant northern part of the state, and then myself are all on the review committee. We have our first meeting scheduled, official meeting scheduled in, May the 2nd, so next Thursday. And we're gonna be looking at the training course that we've developed. We've got a first draft of it out to the committee for review right now. And we'll see how all that goes, but hopefully we'll be getting all these things settled and get this, training course settled and start getting landowners trained out and across the state. And start getting some of this taken care of, more than just talking about it, we start doing some stuff really. Unless anybody has any questions for me. Yes, sir.
I've got 2, Robert, and I'll kind of put them together here. When we go back to your fire report, was there a significant change in the causes of fires? We had larger fires, and kind of the other part of that was that resource limitations, wildfire behavior. Why were those fires larger than normal?
Well, I think a lot of that goes back to that where we were when we went into the quarter, that drought slide. We had a lot of dry conditions over the spring. We're still, I know that we're not in drought conditions over a lot of the state, and, it's just kind of, I guess, secondary observations, but, we got, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we got almost 8 inches of rain in South Arkansas, and we got those 8 inches of rain that Saturday, we were working cows in our cow lot. And, I'm out there in knee boots expecting the normal spring cow lot, and it was dusty. So, although we're not showing drought conditions across the state, it's still pretty dry. And I think probably you could tell that in a lot of logging that's going on down there, but, I think that coupled with, we had some wind events. Usually for us to have large fires in the state, we've got to have dry conditions and we gotta have some wind. So this spring, we had some wind events that created some issues for us. That last week of February, is where we had some real issues. And plus, terrain issues help play a part in that. A lot of those acres were up in the northern part of the state. And when you get a fire up in some of those hollers and hills up in that part of the world, they're hard to get a handle on. And some of that may be, they're included in the acreages, but some of it may be burning out that we have to do. So,
The comment I wanted to make was, I think the bulk was actually in your district. Not that you were doing anything wrong, but when we have fires up there, a lot of times you have to let it come to you in some places, and we can't just, because of.
Yeah, it's not as direct attack as what we would do in South Arkansas.
I would just want to make sure we didn't have like more arson or more prescribed burns that we're getting out.
No,
or lack of staff to be able to put them out.
No, I don't think we were in that situation anywhere. I mean,
Outside of Searcy County.
Yeah. We did have, we do have less people. So I don't want to say that that couldn't have played some role in it, but I don't think it was a significant role. Now, had we, had March looked like February? we would have had, there would have been some issues with staff shortages because as it goes on, the more time it goes, the more fatigue is gonna set in and we're gonna have to do, things like making people go home and things like that. That's when the staff shortages will really show up is when we have an extended fire season.
Any more questions? Just wanted to commend you for doing the training in a cost-effective and efficient manner.
Yeah,
That's
try to do what we can to
because
save
suppression,
what money we can.
suppression costs this may be a big year for that.
Well, and it is,
Yeah.
just, our seat contract is almost double what it was last year. And that was, of the three bids, it was considerably the lowest bid, but it was almost double what we've been paying over the last 5 years. So the suppression cost is going up dramatically.
Any more questions, for Rob? Thank you, Robert. Darren?
I'm Darren Spain, the Deputy State Forester. I got this role back in winter. So done a lot of learning experience for me. I grew up on the forest management side of the agency, and so all the firefighting is all new to me. But one thing I didn't realize, we do a lot of firefighting at night. Just trying to get ahead of fires and some stuff we wouldn't think of. South Arkansas, we had trouble putting out fires because we was getting stuck. Yeah, you wouldn't think about fires and worry about getting stuck in the mud at the same time. Yeah, I called Darren one afternoon and told him, we've got a conference call at 9:30 tonight with the U.S. Forest Service. He said, at 9:30 tonight? Yes, sir, yes, tonight.
There are no hours to fire. It's just,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, you're not in Kansas anymore.
Got a real job now.
A few weeks there. And it's great. So our district foresters, we have 7 of them, and we got a great staff of foresters, especially now we got Nikki on board. They all talk to each other and work as a team and they call each other. I need some help. My crew needs some relief, and it's great how we all work together. We had 76 prescribed burns this quarter. It's a picture on the right is our District 1 staff helping UAM with their fire lab. We normally have more prescribed fires during this time of year, but we had some burn bans and of course fighting wildfires, pulled our numbers down. But and I just wanted to mention we do a lot of work with schools. On the left is Rosie Timmerman, getting some FFA students ready for a competition. And we do a lot of work with them, FFA, help set up a contest in Jonesboro, but really all over the state. We help set up their practices and their tests. And we did a lot of Smoky Bear visits this time of the year, usually about 30 for this quarter. One question on districts, I'll move on to Poison Springs. Had a good timber sale this year. Prices were good. We were able to get out 7 sales. We actually pushed out an extra one to get to 7 just because of the good prices. And when we had, it was all part of our management plan, fell under our plan anyways. Average $40 a ton. We thought that was pretty good for fine saw. These are, most of them are, selective harvest. There's a couple of tracks that we're gonna do a final harvest and just kind of restart over, but good on timber sales. There were 724 acres total in the 7 sales. We're already about halfway, a little over halfway done with the logging. Three tracks are complete and one is active right now. It was,
Yeah, it was just over $1 million in sales. So also good. Yeah, it's one of the things, with any state forest we have, we have some opportunities looking forward to maybe add some additional state forest. One thing I've had Secretary Ward about is I'm not gonna create any state forest that can't support itself. They have to be able to create revenue. And Boyd Springs is doing a good job.
Can I ask you why we're getting like $40 a ton and the landowners usually getting about 26 or 7?
So it's been sitting there so long and they've been cut. It's big.
Well, they don't want it big.
Yeah, some of, so actually, that's a good point, because some of it, we actually get penalized, don't
That's
we, if
right.
it get too large, but which, we don't want to get too large, so I understand that. But, one of the things, that area is really sandy, and so they can harvest that at times of year when they can't get in anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so we also are bidding, prospectus bids in like December and November, so that they'll have that winter season. That we can harvest.
In there, that's the cheap.
Yeah, they tend to be bigger, they tend to be bigger than.
Sandy and big long.
But now, most of the mills are wanting, they don't want anything over 22 inches, you know, they'll start docking.
There's still mills that will take larger material,
They will, but they're gonna start.
Oh, there's some mills that want larger
Yeah.
material.
GP
You gotta know
Gurdon,
where to take it.
GP Gurdon takes it, we
Okay,
take it.
Still, I don't care what, if it's sandy or what, still.
Oh, it's a great price,
$13 a
yeah.
ton is a lot more.
Right.
I don't understand the discrepancy.
I think it's just maybe the infrastructure, there's more, competition, more,
And we-
I mean,
yeah, we
compared
average-
with Northwest Arkansas.
I mean, the mills, the more
Yeah,
mills.
yes, and
We'll average.
buyers, contractors, wood dealers, it's just,
People are buying.
yes.
We will, we'll get several bids. It's not a one or two bidder deal also.
I know, but I mean, okay.
Well, and as
There's
Frank,
nothing shady going on.
as Frank mentioned, sometimes
Yeah.
there'll be a purchase made to keep a crew busy and the financial aspect is secondary.
Yeah, they're great ball.
It's bigger than plantation wood, it's higher grade than plantation wood, and it is accessible year round. Those are the three factors.
And it's in a big market.
It's close to mills for trucking.
Mhm.
Now, those my understanding, we don't always get these numbers either. Some years it's lower than this. So it is generally higher than the state average.
We bought a lot of timber from the state forest in the past, we didn't buy any this year. Not at those prices. I mean, we're getting all we want for $45 a ton delivered, which is paying the landowner $20. 20 to 22 for, you know, for second thinnings and for plantation tree length.
Wow.
Go ahead. I just want to mention, at the last commissioner meeting, we talked about, we were planting short leaf pine on the Forest Springs, and, we got those trees in the ground, looking good. Kind of a demonstration side, the Nature Conservancy helped pay for some of the planting also, so we appreciate them and look forward to partnership with them on the study. And, we also had a big, visit from some students in El Dorado. That's elementary school in El Dorado. They want to learn about erosion. They don't really want people come to your land, want to learn about erosion, but they visited the Little Grand Canyon, and the state park also helped. We had about a dozen of our people just kind of make sure they stay away from the edge, and it was a good crowd, good visit.
A lot of students.
Yeah.
Most of them got back on the bus.
Yeah, there was around 100 kids. I think everybody was.
That was their field trip for the board.
Heard of it. May 2nd, there's another group come in, about 40 kids, so. it's good. That concludes my presentation. Questions?
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aiden Massey, and I am a public information officer here at the department. And I get to represent the forestry division and all the work that they do. I'm going to give you a communications report. So most of our communication with the public is through press releases and social media. Most recently, we put out a press release on April 10th, about the different, I believe it was 87 volunteer fire departments, that received wildland fire suppression kits throughout the year. We put that out, earlier this month. And then in March, we put out 2 press releases. One was announcing the Forestry for the Future Scholarship application period. We worked with UAM on that. Also promoted that on social media, and it did really well. A lot of interactions, a lot of shares, so that's very good. And then also in March, as Chrissy was talking about, the Free Tree Friday campaign, we always promote that with a press release every year. And also on social media, so we just put out the locations, the dates. And that got quite a bit of media coverage, both statewide and local, so that was very good. In addition to that first social media post, we also post weekly detailing the locations for that Friday's event that would be happening. And then back in February, as you guys already heard, we had an increase in wildfires, so we always put out a press release reminding people of the county by county map that we have as a good resource for them, and also just defining the different wildfire danger levels. And so we got, as you can imagine, quite a bit of media coverage from that. We did 6 interviews. Robert and Wesley McKinney, they provided 6 interviews over a 2-day period. So we really got to further establish some relationships with reporters, which is always a good thing during fire season for them to know that they can reach out to us as a reliable source.
Yeah, I did one.
During that. Also, okay.
I did all kind of.
And then a unique opportunity that we had was Nikki Davis. She got to do an interview with KAIT 8 in Jonesboro. So they did a little feature story on her work, and it also provided an opportunity for her to talk about the division and the work that we do throughout the state. So that was a positive media interaction for sure. And then in addition to press releases and managing social media, working with reporters, we also have a really talented graphic designer on staff. And so as you'll see in your packets, Robert was talking earlier about that fire anatomy handout. He made that for the trainings. So, and then also it wasn't requested directly by the Forestry Division, but the Arkansas Stream Heritage Partnership, we made an infographic. They had a meeting earlier this month, and it talks a little bit about one of the projects that the Forestry Division was working with the Hickson Conservancy on at Folsom Springs State Forest. So I thought you guys might like to look at that. But that concludes my report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
I've got a question. Did any commissioners see any one of the press releases? Okay, how did you see it?
Facebook.
Facebook. Okay, can we get the press releases emailed to us?
Absolutely.
I've asked that before.
I didn't know that.
Okay. That way we can help you tell your story for those of us that aren't as social media oriented as others are.
And I can definitely, this interview with Nikki is really good. She's a great hunter, she's a great hunter.
Yeah, the more y'all help us know what you're doing, the more we can promote you. And I think you just got an idea that you got a lot of ambassadors in here for you, that just gotta get us the information the way we want.
Absolutely. We will get you out of
Gotta make it easy for us, and none of us have time to hunt it. Or most of us don't have time to hunt it. Thank you. Okay. All right, now the human resource man.
All right, there is another one of these spreadsheets that I can't see. It's on page 5.
I know what I thought, because they can help you.
I got my glasses on my desk, but I made notes, so. Bottom line here, there's a lot going on this slide, on the page. Bottom line is we have 262 positions advertised or filled right now. I believe about well, 233 are filled as this report, so we have roughly 30 or so positions that are still out there advertised. The part of that I'll point out is, several of those are forester positions, and so that's an area we need to work on. We definitely have, 10 or 11 county ranger positions that are out there advertised right now. But the upside is, one of the things we've been able to do over the last year, and one of the things Secretary Ward for working with us on this, is we only have about 7 or 8 positions that haven't been advertised. Last year about this time, we had a lot of positions in freeze and whatnot, so we have them out there. And we are getting applicants for some of these. In the districts, we're at about anywhere from 70 to almost 90% filled, depending on which district you're in. So we have some that are a little low, but overall, we're still doing okay on staffing. We have about, what the exact number of funding, I want to say it's 38 registered foresters that work with us, whether that's district foresters, county foresters, or 5 statewide foresters. And we have 28 of those filled right now. So we're okay, but we could always be better. And there's some things the legislature's working on that could really help us with that as we move forward with regard to pay plans moving forward. That's always a hurdle for us. We need Dr. Kelty to send us more students. We were talking about 7 out of 9 passed. I said, I want to hear 16 out of 18. Not knocking you, Dr. Kelty. That's just something I want, will help us tremendously with more graduates, but there's ways we can improve this in a lot of areas. I do want to emphasize, we now have 5 state foresters, and one of those Secretary Ward helped us get this last year through the legislature, and those are really important to us because of these vacancies that we have around the state. Particularly like in D4 down in South Arkansas, we have some vacancies down there right now, and our statewide foresters, some of them are based here, we have others based at other areas around the state. They'll go anywhere in the state that needs a master plan written, needs something done to NRCS agreements or something like that. They can do dry fire plans, all those type of things. With us being a little bit short staffed, those guys that can move around the state and help us fill those holes are really important. So I'm glad we have those in place. Again, we're working forward. We're working on retention and recruitment. We've done a lot of recruitment efforts over the last year, with Stephen F. Austin, Louisiana Tech and UAM, sending foresters to those universities to recruit. We have 2 interns working with us right now that are working with Del Pace and D1, that are part of the Forestry for the Future scholarships. We have some internships going on as well. And so we have some avenues that, we're doing everything we can to keep these positions filled. But, my take on this is we're doing okay. We could always be doing better with our positions. Any questions? Making progress slowly, it's not a straight line.
Just a quick comment, I was on the SAF call this week, and they talked about last year from all the forestry schools, there's only 210 graduates nationwide. So that's how few are graduating nationwide. It's not just in Arkansas. Arkansas may be doing better than average, based on school size and everything.
So you're an overachiever, Dr. Phil.
I think so. Any further questions, Kyle? Newsom. Sir.
Shocking.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members. Not a whole lot to report on the financial report through March 31st, 2024. For the third quarter, financial report, the division finished with $5,845,702 in operating cash balance. We reported a little bit over 17 million in revenues between July and March. Our expenditures total a little bit over 16 million, or 54% of the operational budget used up. With 2 months left in this current fiscal year, happy to report the division was in a good position going into the last quarter of fiscal year 2024. With no issues
the report for this reporting period, operations will just continue as planned going into the last quarter of fiscal year 2020. That concludes the financial report.
I always have a real hard time making heads or tails of the financial report, but under seedling sales, we showed 1,000,009 last year. And we lifted and sold significantly more this year. Is there a delay in payment?
So yes, it's a delay in payment coupled with, so this number here reflects not only the cash collected and also the receivables for orders that we took in.
Oh, it includes that, receivables?
Yes, it does include the receivables. That's why we show on the net effect change in account receivable, we show a negative figure. Like just an adjustment to show what the net of our total collections.
Okay, so last year, we sold significantly fewer seedlings and collected 1,000,009. So this year, we sold significantly more, and the cash and receivables is only 1,000,001.
Which the.
$1,000,001 is what we reported.
Well, if you said, if receivables are included, we haven't invoiced for some of those.
Correct.
Well, they should be in receivables. then.
Well, let me let them do
And again, those numbers are through March 31st. So as we go into this, the last quarter, this number should change. On the total.
If you sold them all and you collected some and the others are in receivables, then that should be the total amount you're gonna receive if everybody pays, correct?
So, yes, let me back out. Let me back.
This is why I have a hard time.
Yeah. So
With the-
when Kyle says, okay, we made X number of sales. So the time before that sale is reported in our accounting system could be one of the difference. So if, let's say, we took in $2 million worth of sales. So there's a couple of steps for the process that Bottom Nursery send us a request to key those receivables in our accounting system, which will be reflected in this financial report. So what I'm saying here is we still have some sales that have yet to be reported in our accounting system that will be reflected.
It should be like a huge amount,
Yes, sir.
like
it.
almost $1 million.
So here's something else, and I'm still learning this as well. So what the number we should have stated was that's the value of the seed, that 1.7 is the value of the seed, because some of those orders were actually would have been on last pre-orders and stuff like that, so.
So we started getting, I guess last year was the first year we got a financial report for the operations at Balcom. So at our next meeting, I guess, will be at the end of the fiscal year, correct?
Right.
So we will get a report from Balcom that will contain all of the sales and all of the collections. And compared to last year's, what I'd like to see.
Yes, sir.
So last year, we sold 1,000,009 and our budget this year was only 1,000,007. And last year was an extremely poor year. Why was our budget lower this year for even last year, which was a terrible year?
So if you look at last budget collections for the fiscal year, the column, this is fiscal year 2023 actual 1.9. If you look down to, we didn't include the net change in accounts receivable. I didn't include that figure. It would show the net adjustment of the accounts receivable that we had outstanding as of June 30 that were not collected at the end of that fiscal year that ended up.
So it bleeds over into the next year.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because, the value, if you look at just the value of the seedlings we produced last year, it was much lower.
Right.
Than it was this year.
But we were still collecting from the previous year.
And does the timber sales and seeding sales still go into the trust Restaurants today, you know, general fund.
portion of the season, the timber and the, acre stacks, yes, do go in the trust fund.
What portion?
Uh,
How much?
be like 200,000, 500,000, depending on the year.
I mean, is there a percentage? How do you determine?
It's just based on what the fund balance is. If we try to keep at least $1 million. So if that fund balance goes down below 1 million, we try to bring it up.
So who determined that you?
Yes, sir.
Any questions regarding the financial, John?
I guess the seedling sales, there's also some other bleed overs from year to year. Like, I could be paying for trees that are that are selling right now. I could also be buying trees for the next year that I'm already paying for now. And some of it depends on the size of the order, whether they gotta be completely prepaid or some of them are just a portion paid and.
Yeah, there's so many moving pieces out there. I'm learning it all. The other thing is, if something happens where somebody doesn't want some seedlings, when I was a researcher, I did this. You can contact the nursery, or if we're short something and if they don't want us to fill it with a different species, we won't give them their money back. We'll just hold that order to the next year. And so there's a lot of moving parts there.
And what is the delay between Welcome Nursery getting an order and then telling you to enter in the financials? What is that delay?
And that's still what we're trying to figure out, the delay.
Okay, all right, I'll help us short circuit this. I just want y'all to know, we are still confused about the financial condition of the nursery. And we have yet to get what I would call a very clear report financially that demonstrates what's happening at the nursery. Because there's so many of these moving parts. Okay, so when we come to our next meeting, I would encourage y'all to have vetted that quite a bit, because there's gonna be a lot of questions about this, okay? And we just wanna know what's going on at the nursery. We're all for
At the last meeting, we got in the direction of that, and we didn't know where they
I
were.
understand direction of it. I understand direction. I'm talking about getting it to where it's corporate quality financials regarding the Balcom Nursery.
We have never been able to get that. I've been on this, maybe before you was on the initiative. We've never been able to get the cost versus revenue. We've never been able to get that.
We had a 300.
Yeah, we had one last year. We got a report.
But that was the first year, and then there was.
It was close, but there's always ifs in there.
I'm still learning.
And what, a lot of it's because of the state way of keeping books.
Oh, yeah, well, and if it's a way we could get the report that wasn't, I guess.
If it's.
How they deal with receivables, how many
Right,
deal with
right.
receivables.
It is very different.
And that's what always.
One of the things that may help us is, and it's gonna take some time, is I'm working with Jeffrey, our IT person, on automating some of the inventory work at the nursery. So that we actually have barcodes on bags and everything scanned, and we know where everything is, and just cleaning up quality control, I think.
Yeah, the bleed over between fiscal years, it muddies the waters, and makes it difficult to make comparison.
Just understand there's still a lot of questions about it, and just make it as simple and easy to understand as we can. We'll move on with it. There's gonna be more questions.
Yes, sir, and I'll try to provide the, nursery, in addition to the quarterly reports, just do them on a quarterly basis as opposed to every 6 months or, that, I wanna say we provided one, if I'm not mistaken, in the first quarter of this current fiscal year.
I don't remember when it was, but we did get the cost revenue.
That was last
Yeah, first time that we probably ever got it, and that's good. But I think we had some ifs in that one. And so if we just, if y'all can find the numbers for us, but we're not able to find those numbers, or we might could if we had some time.
And Steve, I'm gonna help you some more. We had a price adjustment this year too. You can worry about where that's at. Just so you know. Okay, what else for news?
Yeah.
You got anything else?
No, that's
Okay.
it.
State Forestry?
Where are we here? Accomplishments.
time, so I'll try to be a little bit brief here on this. I do have one major thing I want to, get to, but at first, let me, say, you've heard everything that I feel like we've accomplished with regard to the nursery, and we're headed in the right direction. I know there's still some things we can button up out there. The nursery is always a challenge with staffing and just all the needs day to day out there, but we're tackling those and really appreciate Jim. He's really, been the lead on trying to get these funds to expand the nursery and, you know, with the tree planting initiatives and whatnot that are out there. There's a potential for a significant increase in demand, particularly for hardwood seedlings. We've had conversations with the Nature Conservancy, and they're even looking at doing some of their own cost share type programs that may not be affiliated with NRCS and that type thing. And then you have these carbon programs that are out there. I don't get too far into all this stuff, but there's going to be a need for more seedlings as we move forward. And we want to be the entity in Arkansas that's supplying at least some of those. Okay, Poison Springs, I feel like we're headed in a good direction there. Demonstration takes a while to put in place. We're working on several new demonstrations out there. As this summer, as we green up a little bit, I get some time, I'll revisit with Aaron down there at Poison Springs and really focus on our demonstration work and where we're headed with that. He presented that at the last meeting, so I won't go into all that detail. But, spring fire season, Robert mentioned that we had an active spring fire year. I think that's something that, we're gonna see more and more of as we go forward. There are many reasons for that. The fire severity risk across the South is just increasing in general and, for many reasons. Our direction, we're navigating through program review right now, as we all know, with the Arkansas Forward, review. And, I want to thank Secretary Ward. He's working with us to move through that. And, I believe we'll be okay. We're just gonna have to make sure we're presenting ourselves in the right way as they ask questions. The pay plan is going to be important to us going forward, as I mentioned with positions earlier. Legislature is addressing some of that right now, and then next year there's a call to address that even further. And those if we get those addressed, that would be a big deal for us. But the big thing I want to announce today, we have the Foresters for the Future Scholarship. And we currently have 3 students in that role, but in a couple of weeks, we'll be down to 2. And Shali, if you'd like to come on up, this is Shali Head, and she was our first recipient of the Foresters for the Future Scholarship. And I got a little background on Shali here, and this is what I meant to print out. I have to zoom in on this. So Dr. Blazer sent me this, so it's incorrect one. She was the first awardee of the Foresters for the Future Scholarship and first to graduate with it. She graduates in 2 weeks. She starts a full-time position with Weyerhaeuser based in Sheridan. So you're planning to stay here in Arkansas, correct? And you're from Arkansas originally?
Yes, I'm from Mena.
Mena originally. So that's good. I wish you had a Arkansas Department of Agriculture badge going on your shirt, but we're just glad that we were able to help you and move you into your career, and really proud of you and the work you've done. Some of the highlights, during her time as a student, she rose to president of the Forestry Club. She placed 2nd overall in Wood IB in the most recent conclave in Gainesville, Florida. She served 1 year on the National SAF Student Committee after impressing SAF CEO Terry Baker when he visited UAM's campus. And there's several more here. Worked 2 semesters as an intern with us, so that was good. Worked 2 summer internships with Weyerhaeuser also. Charlie is an exceptional person, an exceptional student, and we are very glad we were able to help you achieve your goals. So,
Yes, I just want to thank you guys very much. It's meant the world to me to have this scholarship. I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to afford college when I first decided to go. And it's just made the world of difference, aside from not just that, but also all the opportunities and the doors that it's opened for me. So I just want to thank you. I think it's a really great thing.
You just need more recipients like you.
Yes.
You'll find them, I'm sure.
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you so much for coming, and please hang out for lunch with us and interact.
Thank you.
And thanks for Alfred for coming up with Charlie today. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Pretty question. What about the operation we have between the National Forest and that on timber sale. Or
The good neighbor authority.
good neighbor.
Yeah, so we met, Darren, Robert, and myself met with, well, all of the U.S. Forest Service leadership in Arkansas and their staff just last week. And we walked through shared stewardship agreement, we walked through good neighbor authority, and one of the things that I kind of laid out for them, or we laid out with them with regard to the good neighbor authority was making sure that the projects we agree to going forward are projects that are legal in Arkansas. And what I mean by that is we can get into agreements that the legislature has legislation that prevents us from actually doing that type of work. Some of that has to do with environmental assessments and that type of thing. If it's just, administering timber sales, we can do that. And we've done one or two.
We completed one and we've started another.
Started another. So we're working on that program. Dan Olson is the new, forest supervisor for Ouachita. He and I have got a great relationship started. And we talked about that, how to move forward. That we talked about wildfire, how to work together on wildfires moving forward. You know, helping each other out where we have, discrepancies and that type of thing. But yeah, and then we're also gonna visit the shared stewardship.
Any further questions for Colin?
Comment, thank you for getting your feet on the ground, get going.
Yeah, I feel like
Great job.
First two meetings in here, I was a little nervous.
You've done a great job, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to talk about what our next project?
Oh, yes, yeah, so we have, the hearing, is that it?
Yes. Yeah. And what I've asked Kyle to do is just to tell us what our role and responsibility is for when we get together at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do, and we're not adjourning, he's gonna adjourn.
I'm not adjourning anything. I said, get together.
Right, well, I don't think after I'm done that they can leave.
No, they're not gonna leave.
So anyway, at 1 o'clock, we do have a hearing in here for a complaint that was received a while back. It's open, so it's a public meeting. If it's basically a continuation of this meeting. But what we need a quorum of our voting members of the commission to be present. And our attorney, Tanner, will, present the evidence. He's got some documentation he's gonna present. I'm not sure if I don't want to call him defendant, but the respondent, yeah, I knew it wasn't defendant. The respondent, they are here or not, we'll deal with that, but, your charge will be to hear the evidence that Tanner presents, and then any, conclusions or options that we have for remedying the complaint. And then, we have what they call it? Court reporter? No, not the reporter. Hearing officer.
Yes.
We have a hearing officer that'll be here to help lead us through it, but your role is solely to act as a jury almost act as a jury here. And so you'll either, accept what's being presented, or the alternative will be, that we will turn this over to our law enforcement here for a formal investigation. That would result in a, submission to a court for a Class A misdemeanor.
If we're just a hearing, we don't get to ask questions or shouldn't ask questions.
They shouldn't ask questions.
The commission does have right to question
do
witnesses
have right to-
on its own, yes.
Yes, you do.
That's right.
Do you have an estimate for how much time this is gonna take? I don't expect.
It really shouldn't take more than probably about 15, 20 minutes at the most for us to present everything. And as an update, prior to this, before we go on the record as an official full hearing on this matter, the respondent, by and through his attorney, has submitted their own response packet to us. We got the full thing yesterday. There was something that is a proposed, rather than going through the full commission hearing process. And just like you would go into a judge of quarters, two parties in civil litigation or a criminal plea deal or something like that, we are, before we go on the record, I'll present that to y'all. They've entered an entry of appearance as well in lieu of physically appearing here, but they have provided their full response in this packet here, and they have waived their appearance before this, even if y'all do decide to go through with the hearing instead of settling it before accepting the proposed settlement prior to going to it. So
We just have to, they could still show up. I mean, they have that option. That's what I'm saying is we just have to be prepared. They could walk in the door.
I guess they could, but they have admitted their exhibits, and one of those being a waiver of physical appearance. So
All right, that's at 1 o'clock. We need a quorum. So those of you that can stay, we need you to do that. As far as our next meeting, we've got some slim options, and Kyle and I, want the meeting on July 12th at 10 o'clock here in Little Rock. That's a Friday, and hopefully that'll work.
Works for me.
I hate to say this, but I cannot stay. I gotta catch a plane.
We'll excuse you. Okay, July 12th, 10 o'clock here. All right? Okay, I want to make this very clear. We are breaking for lunch. We're not adjourning. We're gonna have lunch, and then we're gonna come back at 1 o'clock and have a hearing. If you let them go, you get them back. So
But here's the deal. It's 11:55. We have lunch. Darren, I'm assuming lunch is here.
Lunch is ready.
Okay. Free Tree Friday is out front, but here's the deal. At 1 o'clock, the hearing is starting in here. So be back in here. I would love for everyone just to at least go visit and see Free Tree Friday. It's straight down the hill out from the building. But keep in mind, at 1 o'clock, we have to be back in.
Yeah, if you leave the building, be back at 1, or you just want this to play.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
There's no one out there, it's 12:59.
Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. Happy to be meeting with y'all this afternoon. Before we put this on a record for a full commission hearing or a disciplinary matter, this involves a man named Paul Williams. There was a complaint submitted by Mr. Harold McAlpine, who's here. And should y'all decide to go to a full hearing on this issue, he will be called as the department's first and only witness. So we have him sitting back here. We do appreciate you coming, Mr. McAlpine. What I'm giving y'all here is the entry appearance, cover letter, and affidavit of compliance signed and notarized by the respondent, Mr. Paul Williams, that has been presented to him by us department staff. That the legal team drafted up, and we sent this over to him. In lieu of going to this, I'll flip through it real quick so I can read it. And it's past that in appearance here. Affidavit states, I, Paul Williams, do acknowledge and admit that I conveyed the impression I was a registered forester in the attached letter, which is Exhibit A to this affidavit. Upon executing this affidavit of compliance by signing and initialing the relevant pages and attached exhibits before a properly certified notary, I will cease representing myself as a registered forester. Moreover, I shall also cease all activities defined as a practice of forestry under the definition of practice of forestry in one of the first criminal provisions in the statute. Without complying with provisions of Arkansas Code Section 1731-301. It means if he can still practice under the supervision of a registered forester there. If he's an employee of one and there is direct supervision on that, sign this affidavit here. So in exchange for this admission and the executed affidavit of compliance, I understand that the Arkansas Forestry Commission will not refer this matter to the Clark County Prosecuting Attorney or the Arkansas Attorney General's Office for Prosecution under the code. However, should another complaint be filed against me, this affidavit shall be submitted alongside the new complaint to the Arkansas Forestry Commission to pursue further enforcement. So we went through this hearing, the way the statute is written, y'all do have the power of enforcement and these provisions that he's violated, the registering or conveying the impression that he is a registered forester, that he is practicing forestry for a service for hire under the definition there, then that would be a Class A misdemeanor if he is not a registered forester under the act and gone through the whole process, through the committee, through the commission, and all of that. And especially at this time in May of 2023. And so he's presented this. If he gets another complaint filed, it's in a signed affidavit. We're going to reopen this case and bring it before y'all again to have a hearing. He has also attached as one of his exhibits, I believe it's the second one, should be the last page on this packet I just gave you, a new amended letter that he sends out to solicit his services. And so what was attached was the first letter that would have been presented to the commission to decide on this. And at the end is what they have amended to comply with laws of the state of Arkansas. So he signed it, notarized it, his attorneys accepted it. They have not appeared here today. They waived their appearance. And if this is satisfactory to the commission, then we won't have a hearing. But if you want to hear all of this, this option is still available to the commission should you hear the evidence, but we can resolve this matter. Yes, sir.
Did, there's a letter here from you to his attorney.
Yes.
Did we propose to him this as a settlement?
Yes, we've drafted this, the legal team to present to him. Now, it does have to have y'all's final approval.
Right.
It's on the express approval of the Arkansas Forestry
Okay.
Commission.
So you propose this as a settlement, assuming that we would approve,
Yes,
and they agree.
they agree.
Does the complainant have anything that, are you okay with the settlement?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I figure you don't, this is the business of the Forest Registration Act, is to help police these things. So that our friends and neighbors and colleagues and everybody aren't misled by this sort of thing. You know, I had other folks in the community ask me about this outfit based on this letter. And, you know, I never heard of the guy before this. I've never met him, never had any dealings with him. I just, took the letter, did a little research, some of the local folks, and figured somebody ought to have something to say about it. So that was where my complaint came from. No personal axe to grind, no monetary gain for me.
Where, reading his letters, what is in the letters that he wrote that would be actionable?
On this.
We're a full service forestry company as a forest manager and wood dealer.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much as a forest manager, he took that out of the second letter, which is in the back here. But
Oh, so that's representing yourself as a forest manager is in violation of the statute.
I have a little trouble with the language in that second sentence there. We're a full service forestry company.
yeah, he kept that in there, I see.
Yeah. I mean, I have a little trouble with that language. I mean, that if I read that, it's full service forestry company, I would think I'm dealing with a professional forester. If I read that.
Maybe,
As I read
and
that.
there are ways to, you know, we are a full service, you know,
Basically, they're dealers,
timber dealer, yeah.
because we do business where they haul us timber.
Mhm. And the thing about it is, I guess, I'll just make a comment. I know that the owner of the company here, is not named anywhere. And he's a graduate forester, and, why he's not registered, I don't know.
And is it the,
His name is Taylor Watson. He's a second generation forester of all things. His father's a forester.
well,
But, it's on his letterhead that this guy was doing it, and it seemed to be a pretty simple solution to a lot of us that, you know, let Mr. Watson go through and get registered and.
Well, it's under Axum Timber Services, but then it says P. Williams Logging.
Exactly.
I mean, is he basically,
that's his business email address that he's advertising for his, timber dealing.
what is he
And part
like?
of the original letter as well.
So he's a timber buyer for Axum.
Right,
And if Taylor Watson is not a registered forester and he's presenting himself as such, that would be a separate complaint. The
Right.
complaint on this one is
Right.
against Mr. Paul Williams, and we could be back here again with Mr. Taylor Watson if somebody finds out that he's not.
I guess his
But-
point is that he could be easily registered, I mean, he's a graduate
There's a
forester.
clear pathway.
Yeah, and then he just put his name down here instead of Paul Williams.
That makes sense to me.
So the question that you had was whether we're okay with them saying we are a full service forestry
Yeah,
company.
I mean, I like everything except that right there. I mean, because they're really not a full-service forestry company because they don't deal in professional forestry advice. I mean, because the law prevents them from doing that because they're not registered, correct? I mean, Pete, is that?
That's the interpretation.
Yeah.
And like you, Dave, that's the first thing we see, but
Well, the charges on the hearing on the initial notice for Paul Williams was presenting himself as a registered forester and soliciting professional forestry service, presenting himself as such, him actually doing that there. And if y'all accept the settlement here saying he's not going to do it again, I can reach out to his attorney and say, hey, you know, that language, we are a full service forestry company, is problematic. It's that some y'all want to reach out and tell them about. But there could be a little ambiguity in that first or that second sentence where it says we are a full service forestry company. Therein, he's not necessarily presenting himself as.
Well, but
a-
nobody
service.
in the company is registered. I mean, there is nobody in the company that is a licensed forester. So, I mean, if you say our company is a full service forestry company, you kind of got to have somebody in the company that's registered. Correct? I
that's,
mean,
I think
that
that's
makes
where
sense
Dave's
to me,
coming from.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just because he says just because he doesn't say that he's one,
Hmm.
he says our company is a full service forestry company implies that there's a forester there. I would suggest that we accept the settlement with the provision that either be rewritten or deleted. That the company should not be representing itself as a full service forestry company if there is no registered forester working for the company.
As simple as deleting that word forestry. We are a full service company.
Or a full-service timber company or something, you know?
Yeah, right.
Timber harvesting or,
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Steve makes a good point. Be real careful approving this without having some provision in there, because if you approved it, you're agreeing with what they have in there.
Well, and I'm assuming if we approve this, we set a precedent.
You're right.
So I think I receive letters pretty regular from individuals that I don't pay enough attention to them, but trying to finally, but in effect claiming they are, that's what they are not. I've never looked for checking because I don't see this is with them, but they could be. So I think if this is a precedent setting decision we're making, I agree with Steve and Dave and Pete on that, but
I don't think the second letter changes one thing he's doing from the first letter. He's going out to landowners that don't know what they're doing. And he's presenting himself as a forestry contractor that knows about forestry. They don't know what question to ask him. So there's really no difference in the letters as far as I'm concerned. It still allows him to do the same thing that he was doing to the uneducated landowner. My opinion. And that's what y'all.
yeah, I mean, if saying that I'm a forest manager is not allowed, then saying I work for a full service forestry company is saying the same thing.
You would assume that they're a forest manager, a full service forestry company.
Well, not to be particular on the precedent setting thing and separate, I get what y'all saying and presenting that provision there. If this affidavit is accepted as a settlement, it wouldn't be accepting the new letter as acceptable as not presenting this. The only exhibits to this affidavit of compliance here, which, you know, is still conditioned on each of your acceptance of this. It's the commission's decision to accept it or not. With this, it only has 3 exhibits. It's got the 2 codes as B and C, and then it's got the initial letter as a part of it, saying I'm not gonna, this is the letter that I submitted where I conveyed the impression that I was forced on that. Now, accepting this, doesn't necessarily mean you're accepting his exhibit two.
Well,
That's his presentation to give you an
Yeah,
example.
well, he needs to be told that if we accept the settlement and he issues this letter, he's gonna be right back. That if he doesn't remove the part where he says he works for a full-service forestry company, he is still gonna be in violation of the statute.
I agree.
And I don't know
I
what
agree
we
with
would
that, Steve.
approve it until all that's cleaned up and we approve what he's gonna do.
Yeah, well, because
This gentleman has not cooperated 1 ounce in this whole process, or we wouldn't be here. And I don't believe he'll do what he says he's gonna do anyway.
Well, is it true that he didn't respond to a couple of registered mails, certified, attempts?
That, yes, that is true. That is something if we do have in the record as far as the exhibits I would have presented here for the hearing. But, these are new happenings, so to speak. That's the way I'll describe it here. We could extend another affidavit, redraft it, send it to his attorney, have him send there. If the commission wants to still have this option open before going to a full hearing, or accept it as is, just.
I agree with Ray. If we approve this pending that, we're condoning his bad behavior. He hasn't changed his behavior. So I think we don't approve it until he comes through and agrees to take that language out of any future
Until we
correspondence.
see exactly what it is, not that it's what's gonna be done, what is done. My opinion.
We did to be in this one.
I know we wanna wrap this up, but, you know, there's too many holes here. There's no difference in the first letter and the second letter. Just be candid with you.
So fine.
And to be honest, even if he takes that out, he's still gonna be doing the same business.
Sure is.
And he's gonna be telling people what he wants to tell them.
That's correct.
And just because it's not in writing, doesn't mean it's not happening.
Correct.
He's gonna buy just as much timber from the same number of people. It's picking at nits, I guess, but as Frank noted, I mean, it is precedent and
Well, we've already spent a lot of time on this as a forestry commission and everybody trying to get this resolved. We either wanna resolve it or we don't.
And we're all here and he's not. And, you know, that may not be pertinent, but I think to a lot of us older guys, no offense to anybody, it is a consideration.
No offense, Tiger.
Thank you.
so given all that, how do you propose we go forward?
So 2 options, we'll throw out no provision or stipulation. Don't sign it today with a stipulation, because that does get a little too wonky on that, you know, but I agree with what y'all saying here. 2 things we can do. I'm more than willing to redraft affidavit, including the provision saying that the new example letter provide evidence that will be changed and no other provision will be changed on this. If there's another complaint that's gonna be reopened, that's option 1. Present that to him again, bring it back. Y'all don't have to do any sort of special meeting or anything to vote to accept that, but if y'all wanted to do that quickly, y'all have the right to do that, and legal staff will comply on that.
Yeah,
Secondly, if y'all want to go through with this hearing, I'm all ready to go. So,
I would suggest that you put in the revised affidavit that he not represent himself as a forest manager and he not represent himself as working for a full service forestry company. I don't think we need to have a hearing. Do
I
you?
don't think we need to have a hearing, but I do think it'd be good, so we're not doing this again if the next time we're together, is us all get on the same page with the letter that we're gonna, that we're gonna accept. So we're not doing this again the next time.
sure thing.
Since I participate in these and I'm not your lawyer, I'm just here to help. It's something to consider is what you may want to do as a commission is to table the hearing, reset it for another date with the provision that you direct staff to provide a revision of this affidavit that meets the terms you want. And in that way, we have a hard deadline for which you do your next hearing. We send notice to them. This is the revision based on the input from the commission. If not, next hearing is this date, and then we can proceed forward with what you have for due process purposes. and go forward. Do you have any time limits that limit your ability to resolve this case? Because my board, we have time limits, so we have to get things resolved.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a time limit, then what the commission would do, if they're wanting direct staff to revise this, is basically table the hearing, set a date in the future, and then direct staff to provide a different version of the affidavit with y'all's input. And then if it didn't, we don't have an agreement by then we go forward with the hearing and just let the chips fall where they may.
I like that, but I'm wanting the hearing date at our next commission meeting, which is 3 months from now. Is that gonna be a problem?
July 12th.
No problem for me.
Okay, just so you know, it's July is when we'll have the hearing.
Yeah.
We're not gonna have a special hearing, I mean, not like that.
July 12th, right?
Yeah, it's our next commission meeting.
Well, good news. We'll have it ready. I've been in
Okay,
contact.
but I do think it would be good for us to have seen the letter and all of us have agreed on the letter before we come to this meeting and find some other word we don't like, okay? No, I'm serious.
Yeah, you're right.
You got it.
No, I got it.
I mean, what's
I
been
like
found here is
everything,
very-
that's the only thing, I like what you had, except for that he wrote.
Oh, yeah, I'm just
We're
submitting
good.
what's been sent in here.
Oh, yeah, well, he was very crafty the way he worded it, just so that you know.
So we'll let him know if he wants to fight back. he can-
Well, and that's not
July 12th.
too much to ask, is it, what our chairman is, that the commissioners have a chance to review, because that didn't happen this time, to review what was submitted, or
Correct.
negotiated.
And
I just want to review the letter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the letter's not even part of the agreement, is it?
It's not part of the agreement.
It's not even
No,
part of the
it's not.
agreement. I mean, the letter says something that we don't want him to say. That needs to be part of the affidavit. The affidavit needs to say he cannot represent himself as a forest manager. He cannot represent himself as representing a company that does forest management. If the company does not have any forest managers on staff.
Registered, yes.
Yeah, registered
Yes.
forest, that needs to be in the agreement.
Yes, I agree, Steve. Yes.
I agree.
Does anybody have a
We're
motion?
gonna table this.
Do we need a motion on this?
I believe so. So we said it. Motion to continue it until July
I
12th.
move whatever he said.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, gentlemen, I really do appreciate y'all hearing me.
Thank you.
We'll get it done.
You want these copies back? Yeah.
Just leave it there. Thank you.
No, if we would approve that, we'd be right back here, because he's doing the same damn thing he's doing now.
Is this the last matter for the?
Yeah, we're adjourning the.
Mr. Kyle's the adjournment manager.
You probably have to do that one.
No,
No, no.
I was just here to help.
He's adjourning the hearing. We haven't adjourned the.
We didn't start the hearing.
Technically, you still need to.
I move with adjourn. Okay. there's my copy.
Recording stopped.
We won't.
Yeah, we'll see you in July. That's the only deal we need to make, you coming back.